Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another pen video, and I thought I would do a video here of the pens that I purchased in this year, in 2020. Now, I did purchase quite a few, even though 2020 was a little bit of a curveball year, and we had the coronavirus, and I remember going to two pen shows this year, and that was the Southwest Pen Show in February 2020, and then the London Spring International Pen Show in March 2020. And on that weekend, that was the weekend that Italy went into their first lockdown, and it was my last pen show, unfortunately. So this year has been a little bit of a curveball year, and I didn't think I would be buying a lot of pens this year, and I clearly have. I think the coronavirus has a lot to answer for, a lot of boredom. I think a lot of us have actually, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, been working from home throughout the pandemic, and I know I, for one, have been, and although working from home is not something new to me, it's something that I have done a lot over my career in the last 20 years. But it is new to some people, and the boredom and the constant drowning of the virus and the pandemic can whittle you down. And I have to say that I think that may have happened to me this year. So I think let's go through these pens one by one. Now, I'm not going to do a writing sample. I have, in a lot of cases, already done writing samples of these pens. These pens, if they haven't had a review done already, will have a review coming soon. But you probably have seen these on my currently inked videos where I have done some writing samples. So I think let's look at the first pen. So this is the Pelican M1000 Warden Sunlight, and this was a pen that I bought for my birthday in February. And technically, maybe this shouldn't be considered a pen for 2020 because I did purchase this in December 2019, but I put it away for several months, and this had become my birthday present. So this is a Pelican M1000. It's a Warden and it's a Sunlight, and it comes with a Pelican M1000 medium nib there. And I do love this pen. I love the Warden. This is a very expensive pen, so it's a pen that I did have to deliberate over a little bit before purchasing, because I know how rare these are and I know how much these go for typically. And I got these for a really good price. So I got this one, and I got a Starlight prior to that, which was my Christmas 2019 present to myself. So this is a beautiful pen. I just love it. I love this Warden here, and you can just see this Warden. It really is beautiful. You see the Machina artist there, but this pen is absolutely stunning. So I guess this, because it was my birthday present in February 2020, this is considered a 2020 pen for me. The next pen was this one, and it actually comes as a set. So this is the Visconti Sun Basil, and I purchased this at the UK Southwest Pen Show. I had seen this the previous October, and it was at the London Pen Show, and I wanted it, but I had spent far too much money. So I bought this. I saw it on the UK Southwest Pen Show this year, and I bought the set. Now, this comes with a Visconti 23 carat Palladium medium nib. It's a power vac filler, but this, just look at this intricate overlay or inlay there. This really is beautiful. And so I picked up this one. It was a set. So I picked up the fountain pen, and then I also picked up this one, which again is an identical version. And you can see that these actually have a real ruby in the cap finial. But this one is a rollable. So it came as a set. Typically these are sold on their own, but this one was being sold as a set. And the reason why I jumped at this is because I love this speakeasy material here. This celluloid material, it is absolutely breathtaking. And I saw this, and the price for what typically the rollerball goes for, and typically fountain pens cost more than the rollerballs. I got both for the price of a rollerball, so I was pretty glad that I managed to pick these up for that price. So that was actually around about my birthday, actually, because that's when the UK Southwest Pen Show actually airs. So I purchased those two, and then in there's a couple of months. I went the whole of February and the whole of March and actually most of April before buying this one. And this is the Pilot Custom Yarushi in the Vermillion. And this is in Ebonite Yarushi. And you can just see here, Custom Yarushi. And this is a really large nib that you can see here. It's a number, you can just see there, 30 size nib, and it's a fine medium. Now this is a cartridge converter. This is actually at least third hand. So originally the owner was Anthony at UK Fountain Pens, and I saw that he was selling it, but unfortunately a friend, Gary Dapperman, had picked it up and he had bought it. But within a couple of months he was looking to sell it. So when he offered it to me, at that point I decided that I would snap it up there and then. He sent it to me. I actually wrote with it for about a month, maybe longer, before actually buying it. It's a lovely pen, and I like Yarushi. I typically prefer more sort of maybe Akutamanuri type finishes on Yarushi, but I like this pen. I like the size. I like the weight of it. And then also in around about the same time in April, I decided to get a Lamy Dialogue 3. I thought I would go for maybe one or two cheaper pens, and this is a retractable nib there, and I have this with a fine nib, and I have to say I like how it writes. The only thing that I dislike about it, and I guess is the same with the Pilot Custom Yarushi and the Vermillion, is that both of these have a little bit bounce to the nib, which I like. But then when you start writing with them, if you start bouncing that nib or flexing it slightly, they will start to railroad a lot, which is a little bit sort of a disappointment, but you can get around that by flooding the feeds. And so this was a workhorse for about a month or so. And then another one just after that I decided to buy was the Platinum Curadas. Now I have a bunch of pens that are the Pilot Vanishing Points. And although I like the finish, I find the pens are a little bit too narrow or thin. And for me, I decided to go for a Curadas. And I have to say that I bought this in end of April, and I have had this inked up ever since. And I have refilled it probably 20 times. This is my go-to meeting notes pen. And this is, if I pull the nib out, a medium steel nib. Now, this is, because it's an Asian nib, this is more of a fine nib, maybe a fine medium nib, but that pen has been inked up since April, all year long, and I love how it writes, and it's had the same ink in there, and it's the ink I've got in there, still have in there now, is Pelican Edelstein Star Ruby. The next pen is a Visconti. I decided to get back onto the Visconti bandwagon, and I really wanted the Midnight in Florence, and I picked this one up from Michael at Manuscript Pens, and they are the UK distributor, and I really love this. It comes with a 23 carat palladium medium nib. I just love the size of the Visconti Homo Sapien pens. I love the weight, I love the size, the girth, I love the hook safe lock mechanism, and I love this concave section there. It's just extremely comfortable for my grip. And I have wanted a Midnight in Florence for a long time, and I'm glad that I was able to pick this one up. The next one, which I picked up, actually, I picked this up in March. Actually, I picked both of these up in March at the London Pen Show. However, I only actually purchased them in, I think it was probably end of April, probably May actually. I had these both for review. Now, this is the Visconti Daedalus, and this is a beautiful pen. And a close friend that I have, Tony Rustici, he has one of these and he swears by it and he loves this pen. So I decided I would actually pick this up. I got it for a good price from My Purchsaed Pens, and I just love this pen. I've done a review on this pen, and just like the Midnight in Florence, and I love it. I really do love it. I love this exquisite overlay on the pen. It's not a cheap pen. It's definitely not a cheap pen, but it's a pen that I love writing with. And then in May, so technically there were probably a couple of months spare, I decided I wanted to pick up a Sailor King of Pen, and Colt Pen still had the Sailor King of Pen Pro Get Ocean, and I'd seen it in December last year. I nearly bought it when it was in the sale, and I didn't. Colt Pens had another sale on, and I decided to buy this one, and I'm really glad that I did, because it was the last one. And as soon as I bought it, it went out of stock. So this is a limited or special edition. This is the Pro Gear version of a King of Pen. And I do like the King of Pen nibs. They are lovely number 8 size nibs. This is a medium nib. And I just love the size in my hand. It really is a lovely pen. The only thing I do find with the Sailor King of Pens is that the ink capacity isn't that great, because they are cartridge converters. But I was glad that I picked that one up. And then there was this one. And this was a pen that Emmy, Insta Emmy, from Pen Venture, tried to sell me again at the London Pen Show in March, just when coronavirus was breaking out. And I decided I wasn't going to pick it up. He wanted to do a trade and with one of my Arco pens, and I really, at this moment in time, or that moment in time, wasn't prepared to let it go, my Arco pen. So I let this one go, actually, and I walked away from it. And then in May 2020, I decided that I had a craving for this again, and I wanted it. So rather than doing a trade, I just bought it. I paid the money and bought this pen. So this has a number 8 size Montegrappa nib there. It's a medium nib. This really is a lovely size in my hand. It's quite weighty. You don't want to post the cap, but it is very weighty. But you do have this lovely clock here. So it really is a nice pen, and I do like it a lot. So I picked that one up as well, and so that was my first 10 pens for this year, and that was to about mid-May. And so you could kind of think, well, okay, that's 10 pens for almost half a year. So I think with that, let's go and look at the next 10 pens. So here are the next 10 pens, and this pen was a pen that I really had to think long and hard over. This is a very expensive pen. I did get a very good discount on this, and that really helped make the decision for me. This is the Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina. and I absolutely love this pen. It's a scrimshaw pen, and I have to say Visconti did a really, really, really good job at showing all of this scrimshaw. And they also have this really exquisite clip as well. It just is a stunning pen. Now, the nib on here, this is inked up at the moment, is a medium new style 18 karat gold nib from Visconti, and this writes beautifully. Now, when it came out of the box, if you look at my review, it was writing quite dry, and it was a little bit more on the scratchy side, the nib. And I took a look at the nib under a loop, and I couldn't see anything wrong with the nib, other than maybe the tines needed to be opened a little bit to write a little bit more wetter to how I like it to write. And I opened the tines a little bit, but I then still found it quite scratchy, and I decided to floss the gap between the tines, and there was either a burr or a little bit of metal debris that was between the tines, causing it to feel a little bit scratchy. And although I couldn't see it on a loop, that actually made this nib write absolutely perfectly and flawlessly. So I do love this pen a lot. This really is a beautiful pen. So I purchased that one, and that was around about the end of May this year. And then I started to receive some pens on review from Derek at Stonecott Fine Writing Supplies, and I will have reviews of these pens coming up. I reviewed a whole load of other Benu pens, so these are the Benu Scepters, and I really like the shape and the facets, the twisted facets on this pen, along with the color coordination between the red and the blue, and it's separated with these gold flakes. And to me, this is just a really nice pen. It's a relatively cheap pen compared to a lot of my pens in my collection, but this really is a nice pen. I wanted some office pens, some pens that I could take into the office when I was back post coronavirus, and I think we all thought that we would probably be back in our offices within a month or two. And I decided that I wanted to get some of those, and I liked the look of these Benu Scepters. So this was, I think, the Benu Scepter 1. I think this is the 3, if memory serves me right. This, again, is a lovely sort of pinkish, purplish, reddish pen, and you can see there the nib. It's a number size 5 nib, but you can see there the nib. But these just are nice. They're cheap. They're affordable, and if I were to lose them, I wouldn't probably mind so much, or if they disappeared off my desk. And then there's this one, which I think is the Benu Scepter 6, if memory serves me right. This is the beautiful silver version here with gold flakes, but this one speaks to me the most. And again, we have another number 5 size nib there. But these are just really, really good writing pens. So those I picked up that was in July this year. And then there were a couple of pens that I picked up in August. I had the opportunity of picking up a Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon, and I decided that I would pick this up. So I picked this up from Michael at Manuscript Pen Company, and this is a medium. It's a new 18 karat gold style Visconti nib. Now, whereas this Machina is actually quite bouncy, the nib, this one is quite rigid, but I still like how it writes. I've flossed the tines a little bit, made it write a little bit wetter because it was a dry writing nib, and now it writes a little bit more towards how I like pens to write. At the same time, I picked up this one. I really wanted another Visconti Medici Il Magnifico. This is the lapis lazuli. It's made of solid silver and it's plated in a gold vermil. And the body here is made of stone or marble. And it's the lapis stone. So this is a really lovely pen. It's a very heavy pen. It also comes with the Visconti New Style 18 karat gold nib. This is a medium nib. This one, again, is a little bit more on the firm side. But this, whereas the Blue Lagoon wrote, it's a medium nib and it wrote more like a fine nib. This is a medium nib and it writes more like a broad nib. Or maybe if you think back to the Palladium, 23 karat Palladium Visconti nibs, that's how they would write. They would always write sort of one size wider than you would expect. So I picked that one up, and that was both of those were in August this year. And then I picked up this one, which I've done a review on, and this is the Yarushi Studio India Xiphos are in an Aka Tamanuri like deep red heat finish. And this is really beautiful. It is a Yarushi pen, and you can see here the blending of the layers. And the Tamanuri is, you can see here, is the mirror-like or pond-like finish. And this has a still Yovo nib and it's a medium nib there. But I do love this pen a lot. And I think Vivek at Yarushi Studio India has done some really, really good work. And I am really thinking about another pen from Vivek at some point in the near future. So I'm glad that I picked that one up, and I have been writing with that a lot. And that was picked up in early August. And then towards the end of August, there were two Sailor King of Pens, and these are USA exclusives. So I wanted to pick up the Lucky Charm. So this is a Pro Gear King of Pen, and very similar to the Ocean I showed you earlier. This is a King of Pen, so it's got a number 8 size King of Pen nib. It's a medium nib. It's a semi-translucent, transparent body there, so you can see the cartridge converter. But I just love this pen. I love how it writes. It really is a beautiful pen. So I decided I would purchase that one along with this one. And this is the Sailor King of Pen, and this is the Stormy Sea. So this is a regular King of Pen, and this again has a number 8 size nib. And it's a 21 karat gold nib. It's a medium nib. But you can see this material here, that it's quite metallic looking. So this really does look quite nice. So I picked that up towards the end of August, both of those pens. And then I went a couple of months before picking up any more, and I decided I wanted some more Yarushi. So I decided I would actually buy this one. And this is the Nakaya cigar, or long cigar, and it's in a lovely Heki Tamanuri. And this is a beautiful, beautiful pen. And if I unscrew this, you'll see here, it's got a Nakaya, and it's a soft medium nib. And I don't typically like the platinum or Nakaya nibs. I find them extremely rigid and very fine. But I decided I would go with a soft medium nib. And I like the Yarushi colouring that you've got here with the various layers of Yarushi. And you can see it around here and also around the cap threads as well. These are cartridge converters. They are long pens, and they don't have a clip, and they won't fit in my pen tray. So I picked that one up at the end of August, and I think let's show the final 11 pens. So here's Pens 21 to 30. I did say 11 pens. There is one more pen. Don't worry. So this I also picked up at the same time. Again, this is another Nakaya or Nakaya, and this is again a long cigar, and this is in the Toki Tamanuri, and this again is a really beautiful, beautiful finish here. You can see here the beautiful looking Yarushi layering that's going on here when it's sanded down. So again, this has a soft medium nib, and unfortunately with Nakayas, their nibs are very firm, and I know a lot of people like that in their nibs, but I'm not a fan of that. So I got that again in a soft medium, and I'm still not 100% set on those Nakaya nibs, even the soft medium nibs, but I prefer that rather than a hard nib. So I'd rather go for a soft nib any day. So that was purchased in October, mid-October. And then the end of October, I ordered a couple of Santini pens. I'd already reviewed a couple of Santinis that were on loan to me, and I decided I wanted some with their flexi nib. So this is a Santini Libra, and this is in the Laurel. And there will be some reviews coming of this pen in the near future. This has a fine flexi nib on it, but this is a really nice pen, so I'm glad that I was able to pick this one up. Santini pens are actually pretty affordable compared to with the 18 karat gold nib that you get. The price is really good compared to any other brand that you would have an 18 karat gold nib on. I think in terms of probably the cheaper 18 karat gold nib pens, probably the Conway Stewart by Bespoke British Pens. They're around about £450. You will get others like Visconti's and that are £650 plus. These were, I think they were around about £220, £230. So they were a really good price. The next one is another Santini, and this again is a Libra, but this is in the Ambra material. And I really like this Ambra. It's the Conway Stewart Cracked Ice, and I really do like it. So I did review one of these already. This one I got in a flexi medium nib, but I like it. I do like this pen a lot. So for me, I wanted to get this, and the one that I reviewed previously was the one without a flexi nib. It was just the regular nib. So I got both of these in flexi. So I got a fine flexi and then a medium flexi. And those were at the end of October. And then early November, we were approaching Fountain Pen Day. And I've always wanted some Wild Ever Sharps, the oversized Deca bands. I have reviewed some and I like them. They write like my ASCs. So I picked this one up from Brian at Chatterley Luxuries. This is the Jade, and I've always wanted this, and I'm glad that I was able to pick this up. It was on sale for Fountain Pen Day, and I decided that I would just pick this one up. And so I'm really glad that they're all basically medium nibs, but they write more like a broad nib. But you can see here the nib. These are just really, really good sized pens. I can post the cap if I want to, but there's no need. These are pneumatic filling pens. So I picked two up. I picked up the Jade, and I picked up this one, which was the Positano Blue. I just love this blue material here. You can just see it's almost like a galaxy there. So I wanted to pick that up. And again, these are medium nibs. You can see the nib there. It's an 18 karat gold nib with an ebonite feed. But they are very nice in the size of my hand. So I picked those up in early November. And then just Just a few days later, it was approaching Black Friday sales, and Bryant decided to list this one. This was the Wild Side in dark ruthenium trim. You can either have rose gold trim or you can have the ruthenium trim. And I like the wilds. I have a bunch of wilds myself, and I really do like these materials. So these two are resins. This one is celluloid, and it's from the Omar's original wild celluloid. And again, it has an 18 karat gold medium nib there, which writes more like a broad, but this really is a lovely pen. So I picked that one up a few days later. I kind of kicked myself that I should have waited a few more days, and maybe I could have just picked up all three and saved myself some shipping charges, but it is what it is. So those were the ones I picked up in sort of early November. And then there were the TWSBI VAX 700R in the iris. So I have 4 of these. I picked up 2 in a medium nib to start with, and then I decided just before they went out of stock, I'd pick up 2 in a broad. So I'll show you this one here. So we have the medium nib here. I've done a review of this one already. It has been inked up pretty much all the time. So that's the medium nib, and actually if I show you next to a broad nib, you'll see maybe you'll see the difference there. It's not a lot of difference between a medium and a broad nib, but you'll kind of see it there. So these are really lovely pens, and I said that I would pick up 5 of these early on in the year when I saw these announced, and honestly I didn't want to pick up 5, so I picked up 2, but then the old FOMO kicked in, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to get another 2. I'm actually glad I got this one, because this one has a lot more gold colour here, whereas these are more purpley, greeny, bluey. This one has a lot more gold here on the TWSBI cap band. So let me show you the nib on this one as well. So these are all VAX, and that is a broad. You can see there, but I love this. I really do love that color there. So there were those 4. So that's pens 21 to 30. And then there was one more pen that I decided to buy. I saw this at a good price, and it's this one. And this is a Visconti Wall Street. It's not the limited edition. The limited edition is an oversize. This is the regular size edition, which is a cartridge converter. But you can see here this lovely red striated celluloid, and you can just see how beautiful that is. So this really is a nice pen. Now this came in a double broad nib, so I picked this up recently. Now this is a little bit more on the thinner side. I'm not as keen having these that thin a section, but I decided I would pick it up because I didn't have a red one. Ideally I would have liked this in an oversized pen, but they are pretty much scarce, so I decided to pick this one up as well. So there you have it. That's my 31 fountain pens. Well, actually 30 fountain pens and 1 rollable, but 31 pens that I purchased in 2020. Now, just to put this into perspective, in 2016, when I started collecting, I purchased 28 pens. In 2017, I purchased 72 pens. In 2018, I purchased 55 pens. In 2019, I purchased 30 pens. And then this year, I purchased 31. This year, I actually purchased 1 more. So there you have it. That's my purchased pens for 2020. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye-bye.